Chinese challenger brand Chery has just launched this, the Tiggo 7 Pro here in Australia. It follows on from the Motor 5 small SUV that was launched earlier this year and goes up against the super competitive mid-size SUV set, including Toyota's RAV4. Needless to say, there's a lot riding on the Tiggo 7 Pro's shoulders as Chery tries to re-establish itself in Australia after exiting the market in 2015. It is all new, and that it's all new for Australia, though this model has been kicking around for about 3 years now, though this facelift is actually quite new and recent. And to date, Chery has sold around 3 million of them globally, so there's plenty of time to get rid of some of the gremlins. Chasing cars. Honest reviews of your next car.
Brought to you by
Budget Direct.
Styling in general is handsome and fairly unoffensive, and you don't have to squint too hard to see the influence of other car makers' designs. It's sold in 3 variants in Australia, which kicks off with the base model Urban and goes on to the mid-spec Elite before you get to the flagship Ultimate version. And the entire range kicks off from $39,990 driver weight. So it does undercut big players like Toyota's RAV4, however, not by much, and it does suggest that Chery wants to be considered a serious player and not simply a cut price option. On that, it certainly doesn't look cut price, particularly this Ultimate version, which sits on 19-inch wheels, where the lower 2 grades get 18s. All versions fit so-called intelligent LED headlights and this neat but not entirely original diamond pattern grille. And both the Elite and Ultimate higher spec versions are available in this 2-tone paint effect. So far so good, so right, let's check out the interior to see what it offers on the inside. Much like the exterior, the interior is reasonably conventional, but it does include an awful lot of window dressing in here that a lot of buyers do expect. So even the base Urban version gets this really neat dual 12.3-inch digital display, dual zone climate control, nice fake leather, and a full-size panoramic roof. The ambience is pretty good, though fairly unadventurous, and you do get an awful lot of this sort of fake carbon fibre effect on the dash, but it does kind of give it a bit of a premium lift. Build quality does seem pretty solid, and there's not a lot of cheap and nasty plastics in here. In fact, a lot of the surfaces are nice soft touch. The media system is fairly fully featured, and it does get proprietary sat-nav as well as natural voice recognition and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. In terms of controls, it's all fairly conventional and fairly logical. However, Chery has annoyingly decided to integrate a lot of the HVAC controls into the touchscreen, which does get pretty distracting. Now, a lot of this stuff is offered in the baseline version, but if you do step up to the Elite, you get nice stuff like a 360-degree camera, an air quality management system, a powered tailgate, and some other small details, though base and mid-spec are otherwise largely identical. The Elite costs $2,000 more than the base Urban, and that's not a bad walk-up at all. The top-spec Ultimate does get a few other details like ventilated and memory seat, however you do have to question its $4,000 walk-up from the mid-range, given that not much else is different. Right, let's check out row 2. So in terms of the back seat, again, nothing terribly surprising in here, although the panoramic roof does let a lot of light in, which the kids will love. Kudos to this Ultimate version too, because the quality in the front extends all the way through, which includes the door trims, and the back of the seats are nice and stitched with trim. In terms of conveniences, you've got all the usual stuff like rear air vents, a USB port, a nice little cubby, and fold-down armrests with 2 cup holders. In terms of room, it's actually pretty good in here for a mid-size SUV with plenty of headroom and knee room, and these seats are actually quite comfortable. So plenty of space in row 2, let's check out the boot. Out back, the higher grade versions get an electric tailgate which opens to liberate 626 litres. Stow the 60-40 split fold rear bench and it liberates 1,672 litres. And kudos to Chery for fitting a full-size, albeit an 18-inch, spare alloy wheel. All 3 variants of the Tiggo 7 fit the same 1.6-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol engine. Power is 137 kilowatts with 275 newton-meters of torque. Now those are pretty healthy numbers, though not exceptionally so by today's small SUV standards. Each is backed by a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission rather than a conventional torque converter auto. And while the lower grades are front-wheel drive, you do need to step up to the Ultimate in order to get all-wheel drive. It is a pretty decent marriage between the engine and the dual clutch, although it can get caught with some unruly palpitations around town and at low speed. When you do get moving, it is pretty smooth and impressively quiet. That's plenty of herbs to get us moving pretty briskly here one up. I do suspect that there's plenty of torque on tap when you do have it loaded up with loved ones and luggage. Consumption, well, Chery claims the front drivers return 7 litres neat per 100 combined. However, we're in the ultimate all-wheel drive here, and the claim is mid to high sevens. However, that's just in theory. With some fairly leisurely driving here at the Australian launch, this particular all-wheel drive example is returning more like 9.4 litres per 100, which isn't terribly great for a mid-size SUV. All in all, the powertrain is fairly unremarkable and workmanlike, but it does the job pretty well. In terms of chassis, there's a light and airy feeling that will be pleasing to a lot of drivers. Particularly the steering, which doesn't have a lot of feel, but it's nice and cooperative and easy on the hands when you're parking. It's certainly light and direct, and it doesn't have some of those grumpy foibles that I did find on its small stablemate, the Emoto 5. The only thing I would question is whether or not it's worth it for the splurge to go for the all-wheel drive version over the front-wheel drive version. Given that, this really isn't an off-road capable vehicle, so you might as well save some coin opting for the front driver. And while it's not necessarily an exciting drive, it is pretty relaxing and quite comfortable. For the most part, noise, vibration and harshness have all been well suppressed, and the ride quality, at least on some of the smooth roads of the Australian launch program, has been pretty decent, although I've yet to stick this car over sharp speed humps or potholes. Safety, well, that is a bit of a sore point for some of Chery's older products. However, the Emoto 5 has been rated at 5 stars, and Chery is hoping that the Tiggo 7 will follow suit shortly. It does fit 8 airbags, 18 different driver and assistance systems, and provided it's crash-worthy, it shouldn't have too much problems achieving that 5-star result. In fact, it's going to need to if it wants to be taken seriously as a mainstream family hauler. Servicing-wise, it's $280 a pop for the first 5 years, and it's covered by 7 years of unlimited kilometre warranty. It does demand, however, that you run 95 RON premium fuel in its tank. Chery has come a long way since those woeful J-branded models it was peddling around a decade ago and before it exited Australia in 2015. And I do think the Tiggo 7 is an improvement over the Emoto 5, which looks good and is sized well, but is let down by some iffy on-road dynamics. On the plus side, the Tiggo 7 range is loaded full of features and addresses a lot of those safety shortcomings that plagued the brand a decade ago. The 7-year warranty, an enticing entry price and reasonable running costs will entice a lot of buyers. There's one major criticism though, it's that it's not terribly original and doesn't bring a hell of a lot to the mid-size SUV segment. And unlike some rivals, it's petrol powered only, so there's no electrified choice in the lineup. So while it's not terribly original or remarkable, it does bring an added choice to the super hot mid-size SUV market. That's what I think, but how about you? Put your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe while you're at it. And as always, thanks for watching Chasing Cars.